to the two-man advantage. We are talking Detroit Lions preseason football. The greatest time of the year where our hopes are up.
On the field,
and the reality is slowly setting in as Nick continues to sing the fight song. Lions are 1-1 in the early seasons of the. Yes, we got you. Okay, wrap it up. Thank you. The Lions are.
He was my boy.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. Okay. Lions are 1-1 in the preseason after losing a heartbreaking 1-point loss to Oakland last Friday night. And
God, the Raiders stadium sucks.
Well, the score aside, boys, what did you think of the first team offense? With the Lions, I thought Matthew Stafford and the offense, without Calvin Johnson, mind you, looked unstoppable. It looked like $1 million. I had to make sure I was watching the same Detroit Lions.
It's hard as a Lions fan not to let it move a little bit when you've seen the pump fake and double move of Golden Tate. I'm just saying. Kevin, anyway, take it over before I get crazy.
I thought it was encouraging to see that they're picking up the new offensive system. I think Matthew Stafford is going to be asked to demand more from the coaches this year, which for him is a good thing. And I think Scott Linehan kind of let him get fat and happy last year, and which led to interceptions and poor play down the stretch. Obviously, why the coaching change was made. But I do think the new offensive system is a refreshing change, not only for Stafford, but for the entire team. I would be more concerned about what we saw defensively throughout the course of the preseason. But offensively, I think they'll score a lot of points, and they're going to have to with that defense.
Well, let me go this way. I think it was very encouraging on both defensive and offensive side of the ball. I don't think their first team defense has given up a touchdown. I've seen them get pressure on the quarterback with Jason Jones and Ndamukong Suh. I've also seen them be pretty good with the run. Also, Rasheem Mathis seems to be, not falling off at all. I didn't know what to expect with his age or his second year with the Lions, kind of since he had such a good year last year, an unexpected year. But he seems to look well and looked very involved in the play. Also, Ahedebo seems to be very involved. He's really encouraging. And Slade really hasn't seemed out of place either. So if you really look at that front seven, everybody said the front seven is great, right? Obviously, with you got Sue and Fairley and Mosley and Anza and Jones, and which is a great off our defensive line. Sorry, and then you move to the linebackers, and you have a Pro Bowler and Stephen Tulloch in the middle that had 130 tackles last year. Levy that had 6 picks and was in the 50s and the top 100 players voted by the players this year. And then you also have that addition in Kyle Van Noy on the outside, which seems to be very much involved in learning the defense weekly. That's the second stumble there, but I'll let that go. So I think it's very encouraging, really. And I'm not even including in Glover Quinn. So for the Lions to look as good as they have, even though they have played the Browns and they have played the Oakland Raiders, it's a start, and I think they've looked better than everybody's expected.
I'll say this, you also have to remember it is preseason though, so everybody looks good in preseason football, but I will say this to your point, I do think this is the most depth the team has had in a while, especially at offense and receiver, and they'll have some difficult decisions to make at running back, whether George Wynn makes this team or not. Also, another headline for the Lions this offseason has been the decline on the depth chart of Nick Fairley. So we'll see where that goes.
Stop eating Twinkies.
Well, they did tell him he had to lose some more weight, so we'll see how that goes. But to your point, I do think this is the most depth the team has had in a while, and I think it'll serve them well heading down the home stretch of the season.
Well, you said it yourself. Preseason really doesn't mean much. You have these players playing against third-line scrubs that are going to be washing cars next week after they get cut. So it's really tough to tell who's really standing out. But you picked up like George Wynn. You mentioned him. Like he's if any chance any of these players want to make this team, because you said the depth is so deep on this team, is special teams, and that's where you can really make an impact on this team. Because I remember for years and years, our special team has been one of or the worst, weakest units in the NFL. How many times you see
Danny Crossman, baby.
like how many times you see a return team, like take for example last year against Tennessee. The Tennessee Titans, they ran back, I believe, kickoff and a punt return in the same game.
Wasn't it Minnesota too? Didn't they take the opening kickoff to the house? Was it last year or the year before?
I think it was last year.
I think it was last year, yeah.
Another special teams headline, now that you brought it up, is who's going to be the kicker for the team. Caldwell said this week that they're going to alternate kickers.
Yeah.
So that's another concern as well.
I'm not really worried about it. I think they look okay. Both kickers look good. Tavecchio and Freeze. Freeze missed an extra point after the first touchdown in Oakland, and they smashed a 55-yarder before they went to halftime. So I think that that's not their concern. Their concern is the depth in the secondary and on defense.
It's always tough to replace a legend like Jason Hansen when it comes to the kicking game, because he's been a rock for so many years.
We really took him for granted.
Oh yeah, through the shitty years and through that one playoff.
Through
win,
the shitty years and more shitty years.
More shitty years. Yeah, he was always consistently good from 50 yards or wherever. He was always he rarely missed. And so for him to not be there and for a kicker to fill his shoes, literally, is it's tough to find. So good luck.
So what we're going to do is we're going to go around the table here, and I'm going to ask each one of you that what is going to happen with the Detroit Lions, why they're going to contend or why they're not going to contend, and is this SOL, which stands for...
Same old Lions.
Okay, boys. All right, let's start with you, Kev.
They'll make the playoffs or be a contender this year because of the offense. I do think they'll score a bunch of points, and certainly as soon as they grasp Joe Lombardi's system as a second-hand nature, I do think they'll score a lot of points. So offensively, I think they're an offensive playoff team. Defense has me a little concerned, the depth in the cornerback. One injury they can't have this year is Darius Slay, because they really don't have
Matthew Stafford.
Proven commodities after him, and Slay himself isn't a proven commodity. So I'd look just like everybody else, as in depth in the backfield in the corners. And offensively, I do think they're a good team, and I do think they'll score a lot of points.
Well, Kevin obviously is drunk on the Lions Kool-Aid if they think that they're going to make the playoffs this year. Exactly, and so is Nick. This team will only be as good as Matthew Stafford is. If Matthew Stafford has another great year like he had in 2011 when they made the playoffs, yeah, they'll make the playoffs. This whole team, defense, you can talk about all defense you want, but they're known to give up points, and they do. Yeah, they have one of the best front fours in the NFL, but that secondary is still weak. So when it comes down to it, it's all Matthew Stafford. If Matthew Stafford puts up points, if he scores at least 30 points a game, yeah, Lions will win 10 games.
From what you've seen over the preseason,
it doesn't mean nothing.
Okay.
It doesn't mean nothing.
So we want to wait to the start of the regular season to a couple games under their belt.
When it's real and it means something, and when the real pressure starts to build on him, and when you see if Stafford gets flustered and starts throwing that gunslinger slide arm and he gets picked off, let's see how well Caldwell corrects it.
Bring
right
on
away.
Danny O, baby.
One final point on the Lions from my end. As Darren said, Matthew Stafford is being paid as an elite quarterback, and 5,000-yard seasons are nice, but it all depends your bottom lines or wins and losses. And the defensive deficiencies are supposed to be made up by your quarterback, and that's why they make the big money. So Matthew Stafford is getting paid as an elite quarterback, and it's time that he start acting like one on the field as well.
I think the Detroit Lions will definitely make it interesting in the NFC North. I think, like Kevin said, they have the offense to do it. Also, Darren, I want to touch on the Matthew Stafford thing. I think that's the whole reason why he brought in this coaching staff. So if Matthew Stafford is not a difference maker this year, and if he's not Matthew Stafford of 2011 or better, then the coaching staff has failed, because that's why they're here. That's why Lombardi come here from New Orleans, and that's why Caldwell come here from, obviously, Baltimore and Indianapolis before that.
I need to stop you right there. You said that, it's all about Joe Lombardi come from New Orleans, where, him and Drew Brees, had this great friendship. Drew Brees wanted to be an elite quarterback. I believe Matthew Stafford doesn't really want to be a elite quarterback. He's good. He has the skills, but I think he's just something's holding him back from taking that next step
we'll
to
see that
top,
this year. This is
top 5 quarterbacks in the league.
And I think if the coaching staff can't get that out of him, then it's a failure.
It is.
I think they will contend for the wild card and possibly for the division. I can't give you for sure just because it's been preseason, just like Darren said. So we will wait and see on that, but it should be very exciting because they do have a team that contend for first time in a long time. So
one final point on Caldwell. One reason he was also brought in is for this team to close games in the fourth quarter. They had leads of 6 of the last 7 games in the fourth quarter. So big thing for the Lions this year is also to finish when they do have leads as well.
Okay, so stick with us. We'll be right back with our 2 May Classic rants, and I'll leave you with this on the way out. Down the field and gain a Lions victory.